How you doing, my Mogul? This is your boy Antonio Wilson, aka Mr. Bojingles. I'm coming to you today with a Athora profile. It's actually the Athora deck that I played for our Race Against Time tournament we had here. That was sponsored by your boy Midwest Chief. I actually topped 8 in the tournament. Well, I made top 8 and I got like 7th place, so not too bad. But so this deck is actually geared around Time Dragons because around the time the tournament was, Time Dragon was a big thing, and so I tried to make a deck that could easier play against Time Dragons and not worry so much about the rest of the meta. So as you're gonna see, a lot of these cards are just teched in for my Time Dragon matchups, which going forward, I probably most likely gonna change the build for team leagues. All right, so to get started, we have 2 Aldo Athora, Thunder Heavenly Crystal Dragon Aldo Athora. So pretty much this is your overthrow. It also reduces. It says that your pings cannot be reduced for the entire game. So you kind of want to go into him first because when you overthrow him, he calls the Athora from your hand or drop zone on top of himself, and then you gain the ability that your pings cannot be reduced for the entire game. So he's your main go-to Athora that you want to start off on. Next, I play only one of the Heavenly Crystal Dragon. Let's see, Heavenly Crystal Dragon of Sunlight Aldo Athora. The reason why I only play one of this because most of the Athoras are searchable, and you really only want him for any matchups that don't destroy. So anything that put at the bottom of the deck, anything that drops to the drop zone, you want to play him instead. But for any decks that does not put at the bottom of the deck or drop zone or drop to the drop zone, you want to play this Athora instead. I run 2, just because, like I said, Athoras are searchable. So having 2 should just be fine. You don't really want to draw into them. You mainly want to kind of search them out and drop them, or charge and draw them and drop them to the drop zone. So that way, although the overthrow Athora could call them back out. So I run 2 of these just because these are kind of your win condition. You want to kind of make them swing into it so you can burn them burn them for every swing, and pretty much try to end the game that way. I run 3 of the Calvados SDs. I only run 3. A lot of people run 4, and they use them as a buddy, but I only run 3 just because, like I said, Athora is hella searchable. 3 Gemologists, 3 Calvados should in theory be enough, but he also reduces the call cost for Athora, which by 2, which gives you a lot of opening plays for stuff like dispersion and stuff like that. So for this matchup, I did take in 2 Mediator of Prosperity and Vanities, Rec Empress. Either way, I did take in 2 of her just because against Time Dragons, she's actually pretty good because the only thing they search for is the grade 3 Time Dragon. So if you can catch the grade 3 search and they don't actually have a grade 3, this actually works out very well. And then on other matchups, Phantom Thief, they search for a Harry and an item. Also, Dimension Dragons, they search for the Lost World spell flags. So if you could make them check top 4 for the Lost flag and they don't get it, that's actually a whole turn that they wasted. I run 3 of the White Crystal Dragon Calm. My bad. White Crystal Dragon Calm. Pretty much when it's discarded, I can gain a life and draw a card. So it helps with the Sheldry and the Calvados plays. Because if you discard these guys, then it's a +1 on your side because you'll gain a life and draw a card. Also, you can also use these for your overturn abilities. So all your overturns say discard a card, and Asterism effects say discard a card, and they effects will still proc. Then I run 4 Sheldries, which is also my buddy. These are pretty much the heart and soul of the deck. They search your deck for a defense card. And which the big thing of Athora is the Eternity Ring. So these actually search for the Eternity Rings, and it's also why you'll see a couple of my techs at the end. I only run 1 of those because he can search them. All right, so that's my monster count for the deck.
How many monsters do you run?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I run 17 monsters. And I'm actually fine with that number. Like, even when I change this build up, I probably won't change the monster count. I was thinking about taking in the Mirror Mill. It's the not the Red Ruby one, but the I forget his exact name, but his effect is when he's called, he can call a size 0 from the drop by paying his call cost. But think about taking that in. Just that's the way I can have an easier way of calling out Cavadoses and Sheldries. But that's the only way my monster count will change. Alright, so on to the spells. Now, I'm going to show you my one-ofs first, just because those are easier. Alright, so I only play one enhancement, just because it requires you to have a size 3 on the field to draw a card. But it immediately gives you the first gauge. So you get a gauge, and then if you have a size 3 Prison Dragon on the field, you get to draw a card. So I only play one of it. You just kind of, if you see it, you see it. If you don't, you don't. Also, the same thing with Starjack Boost. I play one of it just because as long as I got more than 7 life, I can play this card. I can gain a gauge and draw a card. So it helps when you don't open up Athora or Gemologist or Cavados to search for Athora. You can give yourself a hopeful draw with this charge and draw. I play 1-star alternative. It was pretty much for the Black Orb matchup. Against Black Organization, you want to try to put the spell that says your soul can't be dropped. You want to get that into your Thor as immediately as possible. You don't want to have to wait until somebody attack to get it in. So normally what I would do is I would drop the spell, charge and draw it, and then pay it out the gauge or whatever I can to do it, get it in the drop zone. Then I would start alternative back into my Thor soul. So that way I would have that protection before and not having to wait for them to attack it. Other uses, it actually gives you 2 gauges as well. From the top 2 cards of your deck into the gauge. So that's pretty useful too if you're actually short on gauge. Which this deck can be short on gauge because you run a lot of dispersion. Also run 1 Mirror Valley. I actually had took this out at first, but then I wound up putting it back in because of Phantom Thieves. And they have that whole little shadow dive thing with the item. So to avoid that, I play Mirror Valley, so it forces them to have to attack my Athora. Other than that, I don't really see a point of playing it. And it's searchable by Sheldry, so it's a 1-of. I only play one of my safety spells just because you want to see it, but you don't want to oversee it. I only can use it once per game, so if I can only use it once per game, I only see the point of playing it at the 1-of. I did have it in at the 2-of, but I wanted to play another spell, so I took it down to 1. And the other spell I wanted to play was Heavenly Crystal Awakening. Now, I kind of want to play this at the 2-of, but it's another one of those things that if I see it, I see it. If I don't, I don't. And generally, I usually say this for when I go into Lost World. So I'll overturn, and then when I go into Lost, I'll play Heavenly Crystal Awakening for 3 gauge and 3 draw. Loyalty. I only play this at the 1-of. And then you'll see in my side deck I actually side 2 more just in case I want to see it early game. But it also is a defense card, which means Shield you can search it out. So a 1-of. For this matchup, playing against all the Time Dragons, I only play 2 cleats. The reason why I only play 2 cleats is because I also play 2 buddy options. And it was mainly so I couldn't be nullified. And these cleats also get 2 souls, so and they can't be nullified. So I mean they would have to rewind it 3 times to get it off the board. I didn't see a point of playing more. Like the cleats are sociable by Cavados, Sheldry. So if you need it, you'll find it. 2 Lost Flags. Basic because I only can play 2. If I could play more, I would, but I can't. So 2 Lost Flags. Lost is very big in Athora. Like it's the biggest way to stop Athora is by resting him. So if you can stop my whole entire turn just by resting one big monster, Lost becomes very useful because now I have a field that you need to rest and not just Athora. Like I said earlier, 2 buddy options. It got to the point where the cleats just wasn't enough to stop nullification. Like people would just blow up the cleats since they didn't protect themselves. Or they'll drop the soul from the cleats and then blow up the cleats and now it can be nullified. What having this inside Athora and then also having a card that says a soul can be dropped, it pretty much makes Athora a nice little wall. And she says nothing on your board can be nullified now. So these.
So Athora lives there once you put that in the soul.
Once you get this in the soul with my soul can be dropped, Athora pretty much lives there. Like, don't get me wrong, there's outs to it, but for the most part, she's there. He's there. I main 2 antimatter clouds. It was mainly for the mirror match. If I go against another Thor player, I just want the out with the antimatter clouds. But it also helped me against the Time Dragon matchups. Now, the thing about this going against Time Dragons was you can stop the 3, but if they got lands on the field, like if it was one of those, if they were struggling and they had to play the 3 and they had to hard cast the 3, the antimatter cloud was perfect. But if they already had lands on the field and they hard cast and then they cast the 3, then it wasn't a really big point of nullifying the 3 cost no more, because Lynn still saw Soul go in, so Lynn still would have got to draw the 2, and out of that draw 2, they most likely drew another 3 or drew more outs to go get the 3, and that is antimatter cloud was a waste. When in theory you can hold it in hand for whenever you manage to get the 3 off the board, and if they try to call it again, then you do it. Alright, so 3 dispersions. I was running at 4, but I started realizing that a lot of my plays I would rely on it so heavy because, you know, it's a draw 2. And then I would pay my 2 gauge, and then I wouldn't draw until, I guess they say gas to keep going. So I cut it down to 3 so I don't try to rely on it as much. But it's still very useful, especially if you get Cavados out and then you only pay 1 gauge for the Thora. That means the other 2 gauge is great for dispersion, and it's not once per turn, so you can keep paying the 2 gauge as long as you got to pay it. So it's a really good draw card. 3 Star Believers. I'm heavy into drawing, and since you have Sheldry and Cavados that need to discard cards to get their effects off, when you draw second and third Star Believers for a turn, you could pitch them for pitch fodder, but it also gains you a life and steals 1 soul to draw 2, so it ain't bad. And you can also take it from the cleats if you just don't want to steal a soul from your Thora. 3 Gemologists, because like I said earlier, 3 Cavados, 3 Gemologists, the 6 Searchers, and 5 Athoras. You should see Athora every game. And I did have some games where I didn't see Athora open in hand. I had to kind of dig for it, but eventually I got it. So 3 is fine with me. 3 of the Mentherite Shine. I saw a lot of people playing it at 4. And I just don't like it as a defense card, to be truthfully honest. Like the whole nullify attack, tucking the soul and gain draw a card is really nice. Gain a life and draw a card. It's really nice, but the main reason why I want it is I want it in the soul so my soul can't be dropped. So I'm perfectly fine with 3. I never see a point in trying to bump this up to 4. I'm perfectly fine with 3, and I'm gonna forever leave it at 3. 2 asterism effect. I ran this at 3 at one point, but then it became kind of cloggy, and it's also searchable by Sheldry. So I wound up bringing it down to 2, just because it protects your monsters from being destroyed. But if you're worried about being bottom decked or dropped, then this does not help you at all. But it gives you the extra turn if all they can do is fight you or destroy you. Definitely 3 Brilliancy Fire. I used to run it at 4, but like I said, it got too cloggy, and since it's once per turn, you don't want to see it as much. I really like this card just because it stops Black Orc. So this is a breakdown for Black Orc. If you get your soul can be dropped, Brilliancy Fire, and Buddy option, then you pretty much shut down most Black Orc decks, and it's hard for them to play around it because this says your monster can't be returned back to your hand. Or monsters on the field cannot be returned back to their owner's hand. So they can still bounce your cleats, but that's pretty okay if you already have Buddy option already out. So it wouldn't matter if they bounce your cleats. You just keep this as safe as possible inside your Thor. And then if you go into loss, you pretty much guaranteed the game. Almost. I played 3 Iris Lilacs. Like I said, I'm really heavy on drawing and searching, drawing and adding cards. So this lets you look at the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 to your hand and put the other 2 into gauge. So not only do it give you extra gauge option, it also gives you 1 extra card in the hand, and you get to choose what that card is. So with all that being said, I really like this card. The fact that it's once per turn is what restricted me down to 3 and not play 4 of it. I don't see myself going down to 2. I'll probably just leave it at 3. It's a really nice card. And it's a counter, but it's only a counter on your turn. So, 3. Alright, so I did take in 2 Shining Rings, which I normally don't play Shining Rings, but against the Time Dragon matchup, it's actually pretty helpful. If you open up with Shining Rings on like one of their draw cards or their search card, then it actually helps out a lot. And then not just Shining Ring, like I realized stopping Phantom Thief put top 4 into your treasure. This actually helps out with that because it just gives them 1. And if they needed the 4 to do a lot of get a lot of their skills off, they're dead because they only got 1. So you can stop the spell. And last but not least, Eternity Rings. Now this is the heart and soul of the deck. Like these things are the reason why Athora is such a popular deck right now. And it's the reason why Athora even have a fight in the game right now. So pretty much what they do is they tuck themselves into Athora's soul. They give you a gauge and draw your card, which pretty much they replenish themselves. They're 1-for-1s. But while in the soul of Athora, when Athora swings, he pings 1 damage and destroy 1 card on the field for each Eternity Ring in his soul. So if you open up, which most times I can, open up and get all 4 Eternity Rings in the soul, opening attack is swing for 2, burn 4, which is 6 damage off back. Which is also why I think when I re-edit my deck, I'm going to add in impacts. Just because it was a lot of games in that Race Against Time tournament where I would have I would have them down to like 4 to 5 life, and I just can't get that last 5 life because now they keep resting Athora and I can't find loss. Well, if I had the impact, any one of the impacts to be truthfully honest, I can ping out that last little damage. Alright, last but least is my extra deck. And so the first 2 cards in my extra deck is Delete Jewel. Now, only reason I sided these was mainly because of Time Dragons. One of Time Dragons' only rest spell requires them to steal a soul from a size 3 on their board. And most times, the only size 3 they got on their board is their main Eon guy. So, with Delete Jewel, I can pay a gauge, pay a life, steal all the soul from the Time Dragon on board. And then I can start playing all my Athoras. This way, I can't be forcefully rested. So that was the reason why Delete Jewel got in. It also helps for other little decks that's soul heavy. So that's a good tech for soul heavy decks. Like I said, I sided 2 more loyalties, and it's literally just so if I have to see it early game. So playing against Rosalia, Black Orcs, let's see, there's a couple other decks that heavy summon where you kind of want to see your loyalties early on and not have to wait to search them out with your Shieldry. So I teched in 2 more. We have 2 Buddy Trusts. Now the reason why I take these in because before we had got the cards can be bounce spell, Buddy Trust was our only way to stop Black Orcs from returning cards back to their hand. So it still works. So if they ever get around the spell that tucked into the soul that said you can't be bounced, then Buddy Trust is your other out to, hey, you can't bounce cards no more. Which also stops the grade 2 GM from coming out because he needs to bounce something. So 2 of these. Setting in 2 more antimatter clouds. Because going against Time Dragons, like I said, stopping Eon without the lineage is a perfect play. So you want to see antimatter cloud more. Playing against Mirror Match Athora, put in 2 more antimatter clouds. And then any grade 3 heavy deck, antimatter cloud just kind of shuts them down. It also works against Dimension Dragons, against stopping Agonia. So antimatter cloud. And then the last 2 is another star alternative, because when I'm playing against Black Orc and I want to get that my soul can be dropped card back into my soul, I want to set in another star alternative just to have the option of trying to get it out my drop zone. And then I put in an extra Jewel Light kickoff just because sometimes you just want to see it. In some matchups, you know you need the extra turn to stay alive. So sometimes you want to see it more. So I added in 1 more. And that is it for the side deck. Alright, so we're going to move on to my Lost deck. Alright, so first off, we got 2 Val Demonic Deity Dragon Vanity Epoch Destroyer. Now, I actually kind of didn't like these guys because you had to pay 2 gauge for them. But coming into this tournament, I didn't know that the little card that says you don't pay no cost for no cards would actually work with him, where you don't have to pay nothing. You can just call him and then drop something. So with that being said, it's a good chance I might up him to 3 and then actually play that spell. Because it's actually a pretty nice combo. But for now, I just play him at 2, and then whenever something gets destroyed, I'll call him out. Alright, so normally the staple of Val Demonic Dragon, Vanity Hush Destroyer, as a foe of. He actually don't really help against Time Dragons as much because they most likely going to rewind him. And you can't really stop the rewind. And he don't have Soul Guard, so he can go back. But other than that, he is a must because he beats face. He's like a 2-of because he attacks and drops something at the same time. So pretty decent card. So this saved me a lot in the Race Against Time tournament. Any deck that wasn't Time Dragon, it was pretty much, now you got to deal with Athora and you got to deal with this guy, and I can't lose until you deal with him. So that saved me a lot. Not so much against Time Dragon, because once they go into the full flag, they can pretty much swing at him. He won't get his effect. All his soul will go to the drop. He will die, and then you will realize you will lose to deck out. So he became pretty bad. So he's horrible against Time Dragons, good against everything else. I played one of him just because I wanted something that could drop cards from my opponent's hand, and he had double attack, and I just wanted to see a couple of extra monsters. Looking at it now, the other monsters I could have played, I just learned about the little monster that says none of my abilities be nullified, and he has Soul Guard. So that will probably be a perfect card to play instead of him for Time Dragons. I played 3 Kefalbins just because he is the man. Him linked with Athora's Eternity Rings does so much ping damage that I don't even see how anybody would survive it. It's pretty nasty. One of this impact, it restands a lost Vader on the field, give it +5 crit and let it attack again. So it's pretty nice. Only played one of it though. It was 2 of this just because this one actually burns 10. It's pay 3 gauge, but like I said, you got Athora's Heavenly Crystal Awakening, which gives you 3 gauge and 3 draws. So having that with this kind of couples a good 10 damage. Lostless Hauser, just because once you enter Lost World, the other item is not as the original Thor item is not as good. I prefer to go into Lostless Hauser because it pretty much says I live here, and I have triple attack with penetrate, so it's a lot of damage on board. Dimension Cruelty, only played at 3 of, but I'm really thinking it should go to a 4 of, just because one of the biggest flaws of Thor was being rested, and it's still a thing when you go into Lost. Thor still can be rested, and Dimension Cruelty give you that chance to stand up, and it also does a lot of other stuff. So pretty cool card. I definitely used it a lot. I'm probably gonna bump it up to 4. 1 Dimension Gate, just in case I had something I wanted to drop. It was really just a filler. I like the card, it just doesn't really help so much in the meta. Of course, 3 Dimension Draws, just because that's the staple. It's what everybody will run. But no, I actually run it because it helps drawing out your deck. So, and I love draws. 1 Dimension Zigzagging or Zaginot, or anyway, one of this guy. So pretty much what he does is he can nullify the attack. Oh, it's a spell, but he can nullify the attack, and then you can add a Lost Vader from your drop to your hand. This was really helpful for when I couldn't draw Lost Vaders, and I would like charge and draw, and then the charge would be a Lost Vader. When you pay it out, you can just nullify attack, add it back to hand. Pretty good. Dimension Ruins. I didn't have a very big use for this because I was already on Thora, so it was the same effect. If I had to find a Lost Vader and drop that I wanted to call back, then that's what I will use this for. And 2 Evasion from the Demon Vow, which is really good because it lets you look at the top 4, add 2 to the hand, put 2 to gauge, which lets you, it gives you a ton of options to let you kind of eat through your deck and see what you might need looking at the top 4. I actually think I might bump this up to 3, but other than that, 2. That's it, period. Alright, thank you guys for tuning into my deck profile. At some point I probably will do a deck profile for Chicken, especially with the new Ultimate Unite stuff coming out next week on the 27th, I believe. Chicken gets a new set spell, which is actually really great. and it actually helps out the chicken deck a lot, and it makes it a little bit more consistent actually. So I will probably do a deck profile for chicken, and I will do an updated deck profile for Athora. Probably what I'm probably gonna take into Team League. So see you guys later. Thank you for watching.